Well, I don't know about you, but I absolutely bounced into work this morning. Now, I may have got some strange looks when I swaggered into the living room at 8:30, but it's all worth it because how good were Celtic yesterday? The answer is very good. We were absolutely outstanding, actually. 6 goals. It could have been 12. And I know that's a thing people just seem to say whenever you win by 6 goals. Oh, it could have been 12. Well, it actually could have been 12 because we missed about 6 gilt-edged chances yesterday. But even if it had finished 3 or 4-0, I think we would be just as positive about what we watched because it was an exceptional Celtic performance. The way the team moved the ball, the way they won it back when they did occasionally lose it was just such a stark contrast to anything we've seen at Celtic over the last 18 months or so. It was brilliant to watch, and hopefully it's just the start of things to come under Ange. A week ago, I sat in this very chair and, in fact, no, it was over there. Scratch that bit. A week ago, I sat over in that chair and spoke to John and Jackie McNamara about the fact I felt that Celtic needed, I think, 6 or 7 players to give us any sort of chance at mounting a title challenge this season. Well, I probably overestimated how many players we actually need. And I know it's easy to say after a 4-2 win in midweek and a 6-0 win yesterday, this Celtic squad seems a lot closer to where we want to be than I certainly thought. There's a few reasons for that. The way the new signings have come into the team and made an impact immediately. Leela Bada, immediate impact, scores in his debut. Kyogo Furuhashi scores in his first start. Nets a hat-trick in his home debut. How about that? Carl Starfelt, I think, has grown into the role and is only going to get better. I'm impressed with how good he is on the ball. And Joe Hart seems to be a pretty calming influence so far. Certainly a lot louder, more of a presence than any goalkeeper we had at the club last season or in the early part of this season. So they're making an impact. We've then had the re-emergence of players who underperformed last season. Ryan Christie just looks like a new signing. Cliche alert, I know, but he does. Anthony Rouston is, well, Cafu. And then you've got numerous other players like David Turnbull, who put in his best performance of the season yesterday. Stephen Welsh played well as well. There's just so many positives, but I think we can get better, and I think that's where the enthusiasm comes from. This Celtic team is just in its infancy under the new Aussie boss, and we can get much better if we add the right players, and if these players make any sort of the same impact as the likes of Abada and Furuhashi, we are honestly going to be on to a winner this season. On this video today, I thought I would take a look at the various positions at the moment, ponder where Celtic still need to recruit between now and September the 1st, I think, which is the end of the summer transfer window. I'm going to throw in some names as well, find out what the latest is on the transfer rumour mill, and we're going to start with goalkeeper. The jury is still out on Joe Hart because he's not really made a brilliant save yet. I think that's the one thing I'd like to see him do over the next few games, is actually be tested and forced to make a great save and really build his confidence that way. But he kept our first clean sheet this season, yesterday, in a competitive match that is. First in 5 games. And I just think he's a much louder presence than the likes of Barkas and Bain could ever be. Talking about Barkas, I just think it's not going to work out for him at Celtic. I realise that's a massive U-turn from where I was a couple of weeks ago, away up Mount Barkas near the summit. I've turned. I'm now right at the bottom and I'm getting ready to go up Hart Mountain. But Barkas, it's not going to work for him at Celtic. I wouldn't even be against Celtic trying to move him on this summer, whether that's permanently or a loan deal first. I think it would be best for all parties. He doesn't seem happy. It's just not going to work out. Scott Bain has always been a good enough backup, I would argue. He's not good enough to be a Celtic starter. He's not nearly good enough to be a Celtic starting goalkeeper. But as backup, with Connor Hazard still there and Joe Hart as number 1, I think we can kind of tick that off. And we can move on to right back, where Anthony Rouston is, well, Cafu. Just like I changed my tune on Barkas, a lot of people have been changing theirs on Rouston. He's now apparently going to be good enough to start for Celtic at right back. Now, I'll address the positives first. I think Anthony Rouston has been really good, one of our best players over the last 4 games. I don't think it's just a case of yesterday he was really good. I think this has been over 4 games now. You go back to the return leg against Midtjylland, pretty good. Probably one of our better players that night, I would argue. Certainly not as bad as some others. You then go to Tynecastle, scores that brilliant goal. Again, one of our better players on another disappointing night. Midweek in Czech Republic, I thought he was pretty good again. And then yesterday he was outstanding, I thought, and scored a brilliant goal to go along with his one he got at Tynecastle. That's the positives. It's not just one game. He's played well probably for the last 2 or 3 weeks. However, he is still, for me, not good enough to be a Celtic starting right back this season. I just don't think he offers quite enough going forward. That pace, that ability to get to the byline and put balls into the box. I think he could be a very good backup for us this season. A able backup, but I would still love to see us bringing in a right back, and I still think we absolutely have to bring in a right back. Luckily, I do think Celtic know this. Aurelio Buta is the name that just keeps getting mentioned. It seems like the Royal Antwerp defender is going to be the guy we go for. Hopefully, he is one we can get over the line in the next week. Ange teased the possibility of us making a couple of signings over the next 7 days. I think Buta will be one of them. In terms of centre-back, I still think we need to bring in another player there because we are just one injury away from having to play an 18-year-old Dane Murray or even worse, Near Beaton in a major match. Covered Starfelt, I like him. Stephen Welsh, thought he was really good yesterday. Clearly has a lot of potential. Christopher Julian is there in some capacity. Seems to be speeding up his recovery from injury a little bit, probably 6 weeks or so away from being back in training or back playing for Celtic. But the worry with Julian is, yes, he could be back then, but when does he pick up his next knock? So I think we definitely need to bring in another player. Cameron Carter-Vickers has been mentioned. Ko Itakura has been mentioned. The latter is now available to be signed because he was playing in the Olympics with Japan. That is obviously over now. So that seems like that could be one potentially that could happen, another Japanese player to come to Celtic. Certainly wouldn't say no to that. In terms of left back, I think that we need an option there. Bolly goalie seems to be nowhere. Bolly Glolly, as I'm now referring to him. You can have that one for free. He's played 25 minutes all season and it was in a friendly against Preston. Adam Montgomery, it seems like, is ahead of him in the pecking order. And obviously Greg Taylor is the number 1 choice. Greg Taylor just seems to be playing every minute of every game, pretty much. Certainly every important minute of every important game. We need another option in there. Hopefully it's one that Celtic are looking at, although there's not really been many murmurings, apart from the 2 Scottish players, Aaron Hickey. That one isn't going to happen, seemingly from Bologna. They've said he's not leaving, 100% was the quote. And Josh Doig, again, we don't know where he's going, if he's leaving Hibs, but it doesn't seem to be to Celtic. So we certainly need a left back. That's kind of the hard stuff out the way. I think midfield, suddenly centre mid, we've gone from having virtually no options to having a lot of options. I mean, you've got Callum McGregor in there, you've got David Turnbull playing deeper like he did yesterday at times, Tom Rogic kind of doing similar. Ismaila Soro is a good option for maybe tougher games when the opposition are going to pose more problems. Don't think you need Soro in the team playing at home to Dundee. Of course, James McCarthy / Brendan Rodgers ready to come into the side as well. Can't wait to see him in action. And you've even got people like Liam Shaw, who's kind of nowhere at the moment, but could seemingly do a job in centre mid for us as well. There's actually some decent options in there. I'm quite pleased with that. Same goes for right mid. I think we're sorted there. Leela Bada looks an absolute star. James Forrest, it says a lot about Abada that Forrest has actually been moved to left wing a lot recently because you just can't take Abada out of the team. But Forrest is obviously mainly a right winger and I'm kind of happy to have him there fighting with Abada. And obviously we've got Karamoko as well, who is still injured, I think. hopefully he could come back into the team and offer us something different, because he was certainly fancied by Ange in the early pre-season games. Very encouraging stuff. On the left, Ryan Christie seems to be playing out of his skin. He looks far more comfortable playing on the left than he ever did playing on the right. Great move from Ange to play him out there. Still think we need another option there. Christie and Lovric as an obvious player we could bring in. Maybe that's one to watch. And then up front, we definitely need another option. Now, Edouard, it seems, is going to leave imminently. Doesn't seem like it's going to be to Southampton. They've agreed a fee for a guy, I think Adam Armstrong his name is, at Blackburn Rovers. So it seems like they've gone for him rather than Edouard. I know Crystal Palace, I think Brighton were another team. Roma as well, linked with Edouard in recent days. So it seems like Edouard is going to move on. Furuhashi can absolutely be Edouard's replacement. I don't think that's a crazy statement to make after 2 and a bit games, because he just has the movement, the finishing. He scored 4 goals already for Celtic. He is just outstanding. But what we then need is a backup option for if Furuhashi, God forbid, was to suffer an injury of some kind, or if we just wanted to rest him. Kevin Nisbet for me is the obvious guy to go for, and I still really want Celtic to do it this window. I just think Nisbet would be a star for us, and I don't think we can rely on Lee Griffiths or Albion Ayeti to be that backup striker yet. So just to summarise, we've got a right back, centre back, left wing and a striker. And if they make half of the impact of the likes of Kyogo and Abada, then I honestly think we're going to be laughing. There's so much to be looking forward to from a Celtic point of view. By the way, that goes for 67 Hail as well. We'll hear Scott McDonald's thoughts on yesterday's 6-star showing against Dundee later today. That'll be dropping at 5 PM Scottish time on Monday afternoon. I'm also trying to get an insight into James McCarthy from a Crystal Palace reporter. We're then going to be building up to the second leg against Jablonec on Thursday night with a full Celtic park. We are also hoping that yesterday was going to be one of the final, if not the final, home match that we did a reaction for over the internet. Hopefully we're going to do them in person from now on, but watch this space. Thanks everyone for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button, keep us going with the subs, and we're back later on.